Morning, I could answer questions. Hit me. Let's go. Ryan.
Do we have to know about the post-World War II Indian revolutions?
Yeah, we're going to cover that in class tomorrow. Basically, from that, what you need to know is post-World War II, like before, the World Wars broke out, there was the push for Indian independence. The Indian National Congress, going back to the Sepoy Rebellion. After World War II, that became a reality. Mahatma Gandhi throwing off British imperialism. Are you playing a video game?
No,
oh.
I was actually looking at Power School.
Okay.
I wanted to see something.
I should probably do that soon so you guys know. Figure that's what I'll do Thursday morning.
Adventure.
What's that?
A whole other adventure.
Yeah. So the British in 1947 see a need to reform India. But right away, there is a conflict. Hindus and Muslims had united to get rid of the British. Now that they're leaving, they were at odds with each other. So the British throw together a crash course plan to divide the Indian subcontinent into what we know today as India and Pakistan. Pakistan will be a Muslim country where India will stay traditional Hindu. Problem with that is Hindus and Muslims lived right next door to each other. It caused a massive migration, Muslims to Pakistan, Hindus to India, bypassing each other on these borders, and violence breaks out. And so it was a horrible time. Gandhi steps to the forefront and says, peaceful, come on, nonviolence. He is then assassinated, and his death alienates the radical violent sects, both Hindu and Muslim. It kind of puts them as outliers, and the people calm down, and India and Pakistan form. There's that. 1947, 1948. Next question.
How far does the test go up to? Does it cover post 9/11?
Yeah, it's theoretically there will be a couple questions like the modern day. They could do everything as throwing in a Putin and a Ukraine question. I doubt it, but there is that potential. Persian Gulf, Islamic reformism, things of that nature, like the Arab Spring, the revolutions in Syria and Egypt. That could potentially be a question on there.
Will we be in class this week?
We will, but I think a lot of that stuff you guys should be. You guys self-aware of modern politics? No.
I'm familiar with the term the go forward.
All right. All right. Okay, there were two of them. All right. It's all right.
I'm out. Yeah.
All right. Okay, we will do a mad dash at those. Anything else? What's next? Avery.
The test on the multiple choice, is there 4 or 5 answers?
There's 4 answers this year, so it'll be one easier for you guys.
Oh, so this is the first year?
Yeah, they're going to do 4. I think they started a little last year piloting it, but they drop off one choice, but they use fancy verbiage instead. So instead of saying it India, it's South Asia. Instead of China, it's East Asia. They use, inverse instead of opposite. So, but yeah, so it is easier. It's down to one less choice. There's 4 instead of 5.
Your parents does that too. First India, South Asia.
Yeah, so that's the new vogue way of saying it. You can't call it India. You got to call it South Asia. I'm like, really? Yeah, yes, on Piece General. It's somewhere in the continent of Asia on the western side.
That won't affect our essays, though. I don't have to refer to India.
No, you refer to India as India. You don't have to say in South Asia. There is a very large country, all right, that has the Taj Mahal in it. No, you can call it India. Yeah, all right. Things you guys are going to need to know is just be calm. If you don't know one, kind of move on and always go back to it. And there may be other things in the test that will that will jog your memory. Have you guys taken any of the practice quizzes? How have you guys been doing? You guys been scoring, pretty good? Right? Yeah, I mean, you're going to be fine. Yeah, you're going to be fine. So, what other of the world are you guys concerned about, or what, throw me some, this is your time here. Ryan?
The conflicts in, do we have to know much about conflicts in Vietnam and genocide in Cambodia?
Yeah, we went over those today, and then tomorrow we'll talk about Pol Pot and the Cambodian genocide. So you're going to need to know examples of a genocide. Catherine?
Sorry, are you guys?
Yeah, no, okay, I get back, remember your question. Genocides that are popular. The Holocaust and World War II is the one most people will use. In Cambodia, here after Vietnam, the dictator Pol Pot will kill or work millions of his people to death. A genocide is when you try to erase another ethnicity or belief from existence. So one of the big ones happens in the 1990s in Armenia, when Muslim Turks from Armenia tried to kill all of the Armenian Christians. The situation that you hear about in Rwanda, where the dictator unleashed his army, killing, if you've seen Hotel Rwanda, 400,000 inhabitants. Darfur in the Sudan, when the Hutsus are trying to kill the Tutsis are trying to wipe out the Hutus, and over protests where the Sudanese government brought in some things called the Jawaharlarids, as best I can pronounce it, which means a devil on horseback, Islamic soldiers who are just wiping out the poor peasant Sudanese villagers. Close to 1 million have been killed and 2.5 million have been displaced. It's for a racial or religious difference. So that is a genocide. Saddam Hussein trying to take out like Sunni or Shiite groups inside Iraq, using poison gas on them, would be another type. Those are the big genocides. So wiping out of a race or a religion. Big Show Cho.
I was wondering how, okay, so for like your essays, if you, so you state something, and then you provide evidence, and then what if you do you have to, basically what I'm asking is, do you have to provide evidence for every statement you're saying?
No, if you make give me an example. So if you're trying to say the Incas were highly advanced technologically, you can give 2 or 3 examples, then you have to elaborate on those examples somewhere. So if the Incas were advanced because they had terraced agriculture, you got to explain what terraced agriculture is, all right? They also had an intricate road system that covered all types of terrain and spanned bridges. That's all doesn't have to be in-depth or long, but you can't just say, well, they were good technologically, because I don't know what that means. Does that make sense? Yeah. So for each statement, think of 3 sentences: a statement, example, and a sentence of elaboration. So kind of yes is what I'm trying to say. But it doesn't have to be an elongated response to one topic. Does that make sense? Yes, sir.
If in my essay I say something and I list an example of that, and that example is incorrect, say I put a piece of incorrect information, like a wrong view or something, does that just not count, or does it count against me when they grade?
You're given a leeway. You're given almost up to 200 years. So yeah, it does. It's not going to count against you. You just can't say that, Augustus Caesar divided the Roman Empire in 313. I mean, that's, or Constantine. You can't be way off, but in the ballpark is fine. So when in doubt, be general. In the 1800s, in the 1850s, So anything else? Mr. Hanson.
During the DBQ, when is it best to fit in the extra documents?
Anywhere. I say at the beginning or at the end. That way, you know, they kind of, so hit them with it right away or stick it in at the end, but you could stick it in anywhere. If you are reading a series of documents, and one is by like Otto von Bismarck, and the other one is by Kaiser Wilhelm, and the other one is by like Count Camille Cavour or Napoleon III, and they're all, you know, monarchist, you know, European guys, you can throw in. What would be great would be to hear from a citizen of those empires. But I like it at the beginning or at the end. Hit them with it right away or let it be the last thing that they see. On that DBQ, what you've got to do, you can't just say, I would like to see a diary entry or a newspaper article written. Hang on a second. All right. What's going on, Max? All right, no problem. That's all right. You can't just say, I want to see a diary by a peasant person, or I'd like to see what the peasants thought. You've got to put something tangible, a newspaper article, an editorial, a graph, a chart. You can't be general. You got to attribute it to a person. I would like to see what an industrial worker in the Revolution thought of the treatment of their bosses, working long hours and poor working conditions. I would like to see what a citizen of France felt about Napoleon III's going to war with Prussia, putting an economic strain on them. So you've got to just say more than like a diary. You got to say like why that would help you out. Catherine and then Alex.
Okay, so another question about the essays.
Yep.
You were doing this comparing the change.
Yep.
CCOT essay. Is it better to split it up by different time periods, or is it better to split it up by a change and continuity?
That's all going to depend on the prompt. Oftentimes, it's easier to split it up into the 3 time periods. That's normally how it works out. Like the Roman Empire started, the Roman Empire fell, you know, Islam spread, and, you know, that's how governments changed. The Byzantine Empire was there, but Islam began to spread. There's your 3 time periods. That's normally the easiest way to do it. But if there's blatant, like real easy changes, like the revolutionary period, you could go, you know, change, continuity. But I like the 3 time periods approach personally.
And if you do, so for the 3 time period thing, and if the prompt was something that really didn't split up by time periods, and so if you did the time periods, then it'd be like a bunch of changes, but not like one general change, then would you rather than do like change, continuity?
Yes, yeah. And every time there is a change, label it. Another change was, bang. And then after that, that brought about another change, which was B. However, after all of these changes, there was the continuity of, so label, change, and continuity again and again and again. Make it easy for your reader. I mean, some guys get, oh, this teacher told them to write change and continuity. Well, yes, I did, all right? Because that way they know you're thinking about a constant and something that changes. So, yeah.
How about we like underline our changes in continuity? Is there underline?
No, just say it, just write it, change, continuity. Remember, kind of like the water example. There wasn't 3 time periods there, but there was a lot of change. Remember when we graphed the river? All right, there were a lot of changes. The continuity was it was still water. So that's one approach. That's the change, continuity, or the 3 time periods, like the one you guys wrote about, the change in government from 1000 to 1800. So, you know, in Europe, it's feudalism, absolutism, revolutions. In Latin America, it was Incas, Aztecs, Mayas, Spanish conquest, and then, revolutions, transatlantic trade revolutions. In Africa, it was, hey, we're hanging out. Oh, crap, here come the Portuguese to
African scramble.
the Great Scramble. All right. Yes, ma'am.
And also about the essays for the conclusions, should they basically be the introduction but in different
Yep,
ways?
that'll do.
There's really no purpose for but except to just.
You got to have it in there.
Is that where you add in the,
In the DBQ, the extra document, yeah.
So when you were just discussing that extra document, do I need to list a specific document, or you were just saying it like this kind of document?
Well, hang on a second. Alex, you remember what your question was about 10 minutes ago? Yeah.
It's just for the extra document thing again. How much do you need to explain why that would help you?
Just a sentence or two. Another perspective, something that we haven't seen discussed would be what, Alex Hansen thought of what was going on, because we don't hear from, your high school student, sophomore male. It's all senior guys. So I want to know what Alex thought. All right. Dan.
When I'm listing that extra document, do I need to list a specific document? Because when you were just discussing it in very general terms a few moments ago.
Yes, that's what I meant. So give me an example.
Okay. So like the Magna Carta would be an additional document that I can.
Yes. All right. So how would you use the Magna Carta? Who is primary speaking in the documents that you're going to be reading?
The nobles who are you asking who's speaking in the Magna Carta?
No. Why would you want to use the Magna Carta as an extra document? As you're looking at the documents, what would make you want to use the Magna Carta?
Because it fit in with one of the groups that I had.
But you want something outside of that. So the Magna Carta would most likely...
I just picked an example.
All right. So, yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. So you read an example of... I'm trying to think of a kind of an easier one here. You read, back to the Industrial Revolution, you read something written by Andrew Carnegie. You read something written by John D. Rockefeller. You read something written by the Vanderbilts. These are giant robber barons, men of industry who've become rich and wealthy. What do you want to hear from? Who do you want to hear from?
Somebody who worked in those factories? Okay.
All right, yes, and why? So you could get the opposite perspective from what the rich robber barons are saying. Easy things are role of women and peasants, but you can't always just throw them. There's got to be a specific reason for that. Catherine.
Sorry, I'm asking a lot of questions.
It's all right, it's why we're here.
Besides a diary entry, what would be a good thing for someone that wouldn't be able to, that would have it's not rich or anything, or literate or something? What's something else besides a diary entry?
Okay, so something that a poor person that through much of history was neglected. A tapestry, a drawing, a painting. A lot of times if we couldn't, read, you were able to look at stained glass or, a painting or a drawing. Maybe you would want to hear something from a monk in a monastery or a village priest who possibly could be literate, trying to champion those rights of women or the peasants or the slaves. So look at an alternative source like Euripides in ancient Greece championed the rights of women and slaves. They couldn't write, but he could. So something like that. Yes, sir.
Would you have to say what they're writing on and what you're interpreting, or could you just say it would help to have some sort of document from women in this time period because of this, or do you have to say a tapestry that a woman painted? Can you just leave that up for?
No, you got to actually I'd like to say a tapestry or a work of art that a woman created, possibly expressing how she felt. How did women in China feel about being footbound? Probably not very good, but it was the practice. Go back to Japan. Lady Murasaki and Sei Shonagon wrote The Tale of Genshi and the Pillow Book because there were rich ladies, but their lives sucked. So usually it'll be more tangible from that. A painting, a piece of propaganda, newspaper article, a graph, a chart. It can be virtually anything to help give you a greater understanding of the time period. What is missing that would help you see the whole picture instead of just half of it? All right. Mr. Cherno.
For the DBQs, it says you're supposed to analyze the point of view of the documents. Are you supposed to do that for every single document?
No, that's why you group them in those paragraphs. These guys are, you know, biased in favor of, remember that thing we did, Chapel Hill High School. These guys are biased in favor of East Chapel Hill High School. Here is the one guy who was unbiased. That's why we group them and just throw in there the perspective of these guys. These were robber barons. These were men of industry. These guys were workers inside the factory. That's their take on things. So that's why we group the documents that way. And then just throw in, this is their perspective. What would help is, what we have not seen is anybody from the outside, anybody removed that's not caught up in the conflict, what were their thoughts on it? Mr. Cherno.
Back to the change over time, let's say. On the rubric you gave us, it said we needed 2 changes and 2 continuities,
Yep.
but you only told us 2 changes and 1 continuity.
Well, because the continuity, that was kind of a misnomer. The continuity, if it's a constant, it's
It's the same.
it's the same. What you can do to try and get a little extra is say, like, as a result of the continuity, this would reciprocate throughout time. So while it stayed constant, it gave, you know, not so much as a change, but it allowed something else to happen. So for instance, the revolutionary period from the late 17 through early 1800s was constant around the globe. As a result of that, you know, like the United States and other countries became democracies. So if you can come up more than 1 is preferred, but you really only need one good one. Yes, sir.
Where do I get the extra point in the compare and contrast?
Where you show extra information and how it would, like, making what's called a global connection, someplace where a similar thing happened. So the ancient Greek city-states, or the ancient Mayas, lived in city-states that were extremely similar to the city-states of the Great Zimbabwe, or the Zimbabwe civilization, like the Great Zimbabwe and ancient Athens in the 400s. Yeah, making that giant connection. Anything else? Yes, sir.
What happens if you, on the essays, if you miss the conclusion or you don't quite finish the last paragraph? Does it have a big effect?
It doesn't have a big effect, but if you just attempt one. The only 2 essays they really require a conclusion are the compare and contrast and the change in continuity over time. If you can get one in with the DBQ, it can only help you, but if you don't have time, don't worry about it. But even a few sentences is better than nothing. Like Catherine said, just restate your thesis if you have to. Yes, ma'am.
Going back to Avery's thing about point of view.
Yep.
So when you said to group your documents, I thought you were never supposed to group your documents. So
No. I don't mean use them like group documents 1 and 2. I mean, when you form your paragraphs in your pre-write and you're using documents 1, 3, and 4, your second paragraph is 2, 5, and 7, and your last paragraph is 8 and 9. That's what I mean by grouping your paragraphs, grouping your documents in the paragraphs where they support each other. Does that make sense?
right. So when you're writing your essay, where would you fit in the point of view?
So,
Just say at the beginning.
yeah, well, no, during the paragraph. During this, you know, as we look at what Plato, Socrates, and Athens were saying, in these 3 documents. They are all philosophers from the city-state of Athens. That's all they know and understand. Second paragraph will be guys from Sparta. Third paragraph may be a Persian. So just somewhere in there, attribute these documents are speaking from the perspective of a robber baron, from a monarchist, from a Spanish conquistador. That's all you have to do in that. Does that make sense to everybody? All right. We'll go over that tomorrow in class too. All right. Next question. You got 12 more minutes. What's up? What's that? Trying to think? Yeah. We'll just take a few minutes. Anything, so you guys are mostly worried about the essays, correct?
I'm not worried about them.
All right. What about the essays is causing you, besides what we've talked about, like what?
Just not knowing. Like, I don't really
Well, I know that I can write
Yeah.
anything as long as I have the time to do it.
Yeah.
Time
and not
just
knowing
knowing that I
it's
have 50
like-
minutes
the
or
Green
40
Revolution
minutes
on.
to write out an entire essay. It's kind of the length too. Like if I feel like I've got everything down, but I've only done the front and back of one page, I'm going to be worried.
Well, that's all most people write, is the front and the back of one piece of paper. I mean, that's literally,
So that's okay.
yeah, that's okay. I mean, that's, you
Don't
know,
do like that half of a front of a page that we graded the other
Well,
day.
he still got a 3.
yeah,
Perfect.
right. So really, the front and the back of a sheet of notebook paper is about the length that you're going to come up with. So that's where you want to break it down into your 5 paragraphs. We have done, guys, literally, whether you know it or not, look at how far we got today. We just finished up with, you know, we've done, you know, China through the Communist Revolution. We've done Korea. We've done Vietnam. We're moving into the, you know, we've done the Cold War. We've collapsed the Soviet Union. Eastern Europe has broken up. Tomorrow we're going to go over like genocides. We formed the UN. We've literally done, what did we talk about first day? Who did we talk about? We talked about Paleolithic man, and we talked about Lucy wandering around down here in Tanzania and marching her butt all over the world. So we've literally done just about every single thing. So you've heard about it somewhere. So take your time, take a deep breath, and as I told Stonewall today, do a little pre-write. Pre-write can help ward off nervousness. It helps you organize. Then you transfer your thinking to the sheet of paper, and it'll help your brain get going. Oh yeah, once you remember one thing, Toussaint L'Ouverture, he died, Haiti became free, but the slaves didn't get to experience it. Okay, boom, what's next? All right, all right. Yes, sir.
So the essays are probably mostly going to ask about classical era stuff or like revolution kind of stuff, right? Like that kind of time period. Because did they ask about Neolithic and Paleolithic man?
Not really. So yeah, you think of like Greece onwards,
Yeah.
and you're always going to get a choice of 2 or 3 areas, like that last CCOT we did. Africa, Middle Ages, the Americas. You'll always get a choice. So for tomorrow, I'll try and get out old tests and let you look at them. They try and scare you by using big words. Just calm down, break down the prompt, all right? You know, a migration, a change, a continuity, people are moving. How are things staying the same in South Asia? Oh, okay, well, how did things change and stay the same in South Asia, which is India? Well, we know that a third of it got broken off to form Pakistan, and they're now Muslim, but pretty much India has been like Hindu since the river valley, so I'm pretty sure we're good. All right, just, you know, just be calm, be calm, be calm. Darsh.
Okay, so I took a practice test.
Yep.
One of the questions was like pre-1000 BC, talk about the Indo-European steppe tribes. What were those?
The STPP.
Yeah. These were steppe tribes, people here that were, those were the Aryans that came into India. They were migrating nomads who eventually settled in India, and some made it over to Greece, searching for pasture land for their herds. And they're like, oh, damn, look, nobody lives in India. There's 2 beautiful cities over there, but well, there ain't no one there, so I'm not going to go in there. They're spooky. All right. Oh, all right. Catherine. All right. Gabby, you look kind of concerned there. You good? You're like, what's he talking about? Yeah, those are the Aryans. Nomads. What do nomads do? They walk around. What are they looking for?
Animals.
Land for food. And they're following herds of game. How many people did they max out at in their tribes? 20 to 30, because that was as many as you could feed. Remember the Thanksgiving dinner analogy?
Domesticated animals.
Until that was the Neolithic Revolution, where they began to form in villages. Bam, there we go. There is steppe nomads of Asia. Catherine or Ryan or Catherine, somebody.
Wasn't it also between the people is that they kind of saw a little bit of ingredients that they thought.
Right, they're like, man, after a while, everyone's got 3 eyes, and you know, like, they're like, whoa, we got to start sharing some genes here because everyone is named Daryl, and that's not good. Daryl. All right, it's true. Anyway, my stomach's growling. Yes, sir.
The Indian Ocean Basin is just the trade between India and Africa.
Yep. We're gonna, this is the bulk of the Indian Ocean trade. I'm sure there was some down here, but not very significant. You're looking at the Islamic dhow and the Latin sail, and later the Chinese junk, which was not a piece of junk. It was a very sophisticated piece of junk. Sailing technology, otherwise known as a junk. And the little sail, the funky sail.
Turtle ships?
That was Korea. It's Korea. So the Japanese pirates would raid, they just hunker down and be like, what? Like, what's his name, Macklemore? All right. Yeah, all right. Yeah. Is that correct? Is that a correct usage? Yeah, all right. Yeah. All right. So anyway, what else we got? The only thing we haven't really covered, and everyone says it's going to become big some year, is Oceania. This most likely will be that year. You have Pacific Island nations that will form outriggers, and they will spread a language dialect over the South Pacific Islands, and they will trade like pineapples and coconuts. I don't really.
About the Aboriginal people, or?
Some Aboriginals down here in Australia who will remain perfectly untouched until the British show up and decide that they're going to take it over. But Polynesian trade, I guess master sailors, very brave dudes, who they said they could use their senses and sniff and smell and touch the water, and it would guide them to different islands. I don't even know. All right.
Did the Aborigines evolve separately from the people in Africa?
Yeah.
They were totally isolated.
Totally isolated.
Okay.
Yeah, but I bet Indonesia, New Guinea. I'm sure there was some contact over in here, not completely isolated.
So in 2 separate locations, nearly the exact same species.
Yeah.
Human evolved.
Yep. Yes, sir.
Was Australia a colony of Georgia? Were they both places that in England sent criminals to just sit?
Yeah. We had to police the criminals. We got to get the criminals out of here. So we'll send your butt over there, and a military guy will watch you.
Was the Georgia one a buffer between Spain and the rest of the colony?
What exactly is Georgia?
It's a little to the west down I-95. All right. Or to the south if you want to go 95 instead of 85. Yeah.
Below South Carolina.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. that makes more sense.
All right.
For some reason, I thought there's this country named Georgia had to compare you up.
What? Who? When? What? All right. What else?
The state under South Carolina.
Okay. There's no country named
Not
Georgia.
there's a country.
There is a country named
That was
Georgia.
under the U.S. That's not.
Right there. Okay. There's a difference.
It's now kind of rough.
Didn't it used to be bigger?
Yep.
Yeah.
But the criminal one we were talking about is our Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And Australia. I'm going to get you out of here. Roll on. All right. What else? Has a broken what? Well, no. I mean, it's supposed to be, but that's why they said a lot of the guys weren't even criminals. They were mentally, they probably had mental disabilities. And the British thought, so they just go live in Australia. So anyway. Yes, sir.
What do you think the top 3 Mesopotamian society? What should we know about for those?
About Mesopotamia? I mean, Hammurabi, Babylonians, Hammurabi and his code of law. Sumerians and cuneiform. The Persians, I mean, they're around forever and today. And then I would say even something like the Hittites with their ability to develop iron.
Ooh, are they gonna ask about like Egyptians? They will.
They might, but I mean, it'll be like, what did monumental architecture display? Strong central monarch, organized the labor, organized the construction material, and highly advanced in math and geometry because they had perfectly square 90-degree angles, which shows definitely knowledge of complex math and whatever else I said like 1,000 times. Yes, sir.
That was a paragraph right there.
That was, bam. We'll own that one. Rip it out of the park, yeah.
I really hope on Friday I can be like,
Did the Romans had steel or iron?
Romans had iron
When
weapons.
was steel like?
Steel was not invented until much later. It was a very sophisticated alloy, yeah.
it was the bronze with Hittites though?
Bronze, yeah. And then the Hittites come up with iron. Bronze was the big thing, and then that's right. They wanted to hit people, and like, oh, no, iron cuts through bronze. The Egyptians were like, I got you, oh.
Just remember, gold
Well.
goes through everything.
You got
I know.
I don't say that because other people will get
Kind of joined the Egyptians.
They conquered them, and then they were absorbed, and then the Egyptians, yeah. Whew. All right. What else? Last minute.
Are we having any more morning or afternoon?
We'll do a little one tomorrow, and then we'll see what you guys do. Tomorrow I want to talk about maybe essays if we do something after school. Try and do it in class too, and just, because,
Something tomorrow morning?
yeah, we may do the Middle Ages tomorrow morning. All right.
Okay.
Yeah. What's that, Big Show?
Oh, I'm guessing you're gonna go to this tomorrow, but like, what if you just had an anxiety attack and you had like no idea what to write on your essay?
Stop. Just put your hands down. Take a few deep breaths. And then look at the topic. Literally close your eyes and try and visualize something. When something, a thought, a word pops into your head, just start blasting out terms on a sheet of paper to get your brain thinking, and then try and get something down on paper. I mean, even if it doesn't have to be great, doesn't have to be perfect paragraph form, just get words on paper, and we can possibly find a point in there too.
Do you have to bring our own paper for the essays?
Nope. Nope.
I mean, I didn't think so, but I didn't want to show up without paper.
Yeah. You never know. All right.
Do they have a spot to put the pre-write, or?
People do it in their book. There should be some scraps of paper laying around. But yeah, just, draw it up in your book. Like, do I still have the one out here? No, I don't. Like, there's the example. Yeah, I do. So, like, we just Venn diagram that bad dog right on, between Ghana and Mali, right on the sheet of paper. So this is from 2011. So chances are, it's been a couple years, we may see an Africa question. This DBQ is on like the Green Revolution and surplus food, and they wrote things right in the middle of the documents. It was, yeah, like trying to grow better foods and see, yeah, hybrid plants, things that can exist in with lack of water, things like that. You know, I don't even remember. Sorry, I don't even remember. I know it was kind of weird though.
The compare and contrast is the one that I'm most.
That's the one that I'm worried about the most. Yeah.
I'm worried about change over time.
Everybody says that they're worried about like the DBQ, and I'm worried about
the change. The change over time is such a big period, and they'll give you different options.
And the DBQ, you can just, if you have nothing left, you can talk about the documents and then use really vague terms.
Yeah.
I'm worried that I like don't know.
The compare and contrast.
But I kind of like know where they are in relation to each other. Like how, you know, like I don't know. I'm just really.
Don't worry about time period then. Like, and when it says, you know, like. We'll do that tomorrow. We'll use this. We'll use the thing over there to go over when things were, so you have in real, you know, like classics, Greece, Rome, Han Dynasty, 400 to 400. You know, Middle Ages, 500 to 1000. And so inside of that is Europe, the Byzantine Empire, the spread of Islam, West African empires. 1000 to 1500. More spread of Islam, Portuguese involvement in Africa, discovery of the New World, all the way over to like the Tang and Song dynasty, the European Renaissance. So we'll break things down that way tomorrow. So you know. All right, don't stress. I'm sorry. Don't stress, guys. All right, really, you have to be nervous.